Hello and welcome to Film Focus Online Presents. Today we are bringing you our exclusive interview with Miguel Torres Umba, the star of new horror creature feature Primate, which is out now in cinemas. But before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more great film conversations and exclusive interviews. Now I will hand you over to Shauna Bush and get into the interview with Miguel. We hope you enjoy.
Hi, Miguel. It's lovely to
Hello,
meet
Shauna.
you. Hi. First off, I just want to say amazing work on Primate. It was such a fantastic film. I loved your character specifically, of
Thank
course.
you.
The way you the way you embodied Ben was just mesmerizing, honestly. So yeah,
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so
no,
much. Appreciate that.
you're welcome, of course. So I'm just gonna bang some questions out to you. Answer as best as you can for me, if that's okay.
Of
So yeah.
course.
So my first question, unlike typical slasher films, Ben isn't like a usual villain. He's a character who's a victim of a disease. And did you view him as a victim or a villain? What was your perspective to influence your movement?
Yeah, definitely. It's great question because I think when you're creating a character, you just really flow with the character's emotions and needs. And I think definitely for the shift, he was definitely feeling like a victim because I think he was like he didn't know what was happening to him, and then he was being feeling betrayed. And I think that's something I held on to when playing the character, so that there were colors to it, so it wasn't just one single layer. And definitely in that transition, Ben was feeling like he was being betrayed by his owners. He wasn't looked after, and then there's that particular scene with Johnny, which you can see in the trailer, which we built during the course of the film. That trust between us, that gesture of holding hands, which then gets betrayed. First, she betrays him by putting the rope on his neck, and then later he betrays him by snapping her hand. So I think there was that kind of sense of like that layer of the mind. But then then towards the end, he does become a killer, and then he starts playing, and then it becomes more of like a slasher coin, like, okay, I'm going to play with my victims. So there's that arc of evolution for him, which I think was really good fun to play.
Yeah, like mentioning the fun parts. Yeah, I found it really hard to not laugh in those moments. It was really uncomfortable. I didn't know actually whether I should be laughing, but I couldn't help myself. That scene with the car keys, it was just fantastic. It was such
Loved
an
it.
element of humor amongst the eeriness of his character. Like, what is he going to do? And pressing that button. Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I love that.
Um, so second question. Ben uses a soundboard to communicate. Do you have a favorite moment or a favorite phrase that was used?
With a communication device,
Yes.
I mean, the Bad Lucy is great. I think it was just like, that's kind of the one that we mainly use. He used it at the beginning to say that he was happy to see her, which was really nice, like a way of communicating.
Mm.
But I think obviously we used it mainly during the moments of like what to make him appear without her knowing where he is. So yeah, that was the hero phrase. We used it all the time. So that's the main
Mhm.
one.
Yeah, that was quite eerie, especially at not to be a spoiler or anything, but at the end of the film, when you hear it that one last time, like that final jump, I was like, but yeah.
Where is he? Yeah. I love that. It was brilliant.
Another one for you. Chimpanzees have a completely different center of gravity to humans. What kind of physical training did you use to
Yeah.
prepare?
So we spent 2 months working with my stunt double and the stunt team on physically training my body, and also with my movement director Alex Reynolds and his and her assistant Josh Carter, who were also like collaborating. Like we were just creating this training day to make sure that I was doing physical training, but then I also doing very specific training for the character. My legs really had to work on my legs and my calves, in order to be able to keep my feet on the floor when I was crouched down, but also being able to hold my weight there. That was
Mm.
a really difficult position, and I think it's very, well spotted of you, because that's one of the big differences of playing this character versus like something like Planet of the Apes. Where they do in CGI, they have the arms extensions, and sure, the knees are bent, but they're a lot more playing with their own proportions of the body. On this one, I really had to crouch down a lot, which meant like my hips had to be lower than my back a lot of the time in order to kind of keep the proportion. But like holding that position is really, really hard. We also had extensions sometimes, arm extensions, but they were a little bit rigid, and Johannes didn't like that. So we tried to avoid them as much as possible, which meant that I was trying to keep the proportions, even though obviously as a human we don't have the same proportions. Our arms are a lot shorter than a chimpanzee's arm. Chimpanzees are quadrupeds essentially. They do bipedal, but they are basically quadrupeds. So then, basically that's what I was having to transform into. And that was very challenging. So lots of legs work, lots of core work. And it still was very hard.
Oh, of course. Would you say that was like the most challenging part of your time on set?
Yeah, the physical, I think that, but like the mental, the mindset on a daily basis for 2 months to be able to put on that mask. So physically that was tiring and challenging, but when you put on the mask and I put on the lenses, I can't see much. So my eyes are like, I can't, my field of vision is reduced, but also is blurry. The mask inside has very little oxygen, so as soon as I'm asked to go into action, I run out of oxygen very quickly, and I'm also running out of like expending a lot of energy in my muscles very, very quickly. I can't hear much because I don't. The mask is covering my ears, so by any noise that I make, it's just gonna be amplified. So it's a lot louder in my ears. So to protect them, I had them in ear monitors, which meant that I was protecting my ears, but I was also hearing the directions from Johannes or from Alex. But I also had the mic from the floor, so I could hear conversations going on. And the mask has motors, and it sounds all the time like this. So it's just like that's going on in my head all the time. So keeping myself going on with all of those restrictions and at the same time performing and acting and also just like giving dimension to the character, that was challenging. And doing that on a daily basis. I went, the day before yesterday, we did a little shoot for promo with Ben again, and I just had forgotten how traumatic it is to put the costume for a full day. I was knackered at the end of the day. My eyes were red. So doing that for 2 months, we did 37 days filming over 2 months, and it's very tough. It's very tough on the body. I had forgotten about it. I was just reminded 2 days ago. Yes.
Wow. Well, honestly, hands to you because your performance was really, really amazing. So all that
Thank
effort
you.
you put into it paid off. Just adding on to that, like I did hear an interview or I read something about Johannes, and he said as soon as you came in for your interview or like your audition for the role, and you were leaping around the place, you just embraced that character immediately, and he was like, "Yes, him."
Yes.
Um, do just adding on to that, would you prefer to act like that again, the practical effects, or would you prefer to do stop motion?
Oh, well, you know what? I really enjoyed the practical effect despite the pain. I think that was such a beautiful. No, it is great. Like the craftsmanship behind it, that you can see immediate. I think that was exciting. I had a team around me. Like Ben was just me, but also like there was the puppeteer. There was Rachel who was puppeteering the face, and team part of her team was like of the support team, Kate, and there was just so many people around me. They were like my little crew. So that felt really special. So I like that. I really like that, and I like what we achieved. But I definitely think I'm happy to do a couple more, but then also happy. I would love to do more motion capture for sure because it opens up possibilities. Something like Avatar is amazing.
Of course.
So yeah. So I'm not gonna say no to another version or something similar, but definitely not looking forward to staying behind the mask all the time.
Of course. Want to see your face, don't we?
Yeah, for sure.
There's one scene in Primate that stood out to me the most. You're seen hitting a TV as Dora the Explorer is playing. How much of that was you just channeling the character or, just having fun destroying set?
No, no, no. We were hitting things like that one. I was able to hit it properly. Yeah, that was fun.
Nice.
Um, at the time, I think there was an. I couldn't see what was in it yet. It was just a holding piece of screen, but I was able to hit it, which was fun. And same thing in the cupboard. It was designed in a way that I could break through easily and we could repeat, but I had to like it was like yeah, go for it. Like
That's
a lot of the
awesome.
time, Johannes was like, "Go wild." I was like, "You sure?"
Oh, that's fantastic.
Camera test day, they had all this foliage around me, and he just wanted me to go wild. I was like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, just go wild." So I started just pulling and pushing trees and ripping things off. And then he just came back, maybe you should just don't push and pull it.
Oh,
Like,
that's
okay,
brilliant.
you said go wild, I'm going wild. So just gotta tell me exactly how wild can I go wild, but don't break that. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, we have time for one more question. So Primate is being compared to like a lot of classic animal gone wrong tropes. Can you well, for me, I saw like a Cujo parallel from the
Yeah.
80s. Except them being trapped in a car, they're trapped in this like idyllic apartment. Was there any specific films or animal performances that inspired you for this role?
Yeah, for sure. Cujo was definitely like mentioned from the beginning. Like Johannes did talk to us about Cujo and asked us to watch it, and I did watch it, and it was great. Like I think definitely that was the essence. I think of the relationship with your pet. I think that was useful. But then obviously I watched lots of all the like monkeys and like chimpanzees previous films. Because I was like also being inspired by the work of like previous performers in the Planet of the Apes and obviously Nope, like Terry Notari's work was definitely informing what I had done because he's made these characters stand out and memorable. So I knew that I had to like kind of like try to be I don't know if I can be at a level, but also just making sure I deliver something that was as memorable as those performances. So yes, those would be inspirations that I took from that.
Perfect. You absolutely did. Your Primate is currently my favorite film of the year so far. I
Brilliant,
loved it so
lovely.
much. Had a balance of amazing gore, comedy, intense scenes, all the performances themselves. And I'm a big fan of Johannes myself. Pray at
Nice.
Night, 47 meters down. So this film was up there. You were great, everything. Just,
Thank you so much.
just awesome. And thank you for your
Amazing. Thank you, Shona. Please recommend it to everyone.
I will. Thank you so much for your time.